All right, welcome back to Cause 3D. If you missed the first part of our build, this is the second part. So take time, go back. We'll put a link up here for you. The reason I have my nitrile gloves on today is because this has been curing for several days. The gloss black has, where we left off. I don't want to put any fingerprints or any oils from my hands on this because we're going to go straight to painting the silver on. But where we stand right now is we're getting ready to fit the ear caps on in the back vent. So I've removed my masking tape here and here so that we're ready to glue it directly onto the plastic, and we'll get started with that right now. Alright, we're going to get ready to paint on our chrome at this point. We're going to use the Mirror Chrome by Spazsticks. You can find, we'll link it in on Amazon. This stuff, you don't want to get too thick with it. Take your time with it, and we're going to airbrush it on. Let's get So we've let our chrome dry here, and we're just going to go back and we're going to gently wipe away any extra dust that's created from the overspray as it dries on there. Boy, that's just actually coming out beautifully. That is almost mirrored chrome right now. Looks wonderful. I did notice there's a couple of trouble spots that I did end up having. It was just bad sanding on my part. Looks like I got a tiny little fingerprint in it somewhere here too. That is just wiping off wonderfully. And I'm going to weather him up just a little bit, so any spots that are on there that are what I would consider flaws where I didn't sand very well, they'll just get a little extra weathering in that area. It's looking pretty good. Alright, well, we're going to wipe the rest of this down, and then we're going to get our clear coat going. Alright, next we're going to apply our Alclad 2 lacquer. Okay, we finished our clear coat, everything's cured. Now we're going to move on to do some minor weathering. What I've done is I've mixed up some sienna here. I did hand mix this. I'm using a sponge that is slightly curved on the end of it, has this bit of a point. A makeup sponge would probably be the best thing to use. Unfortunately, I didn't have one handy. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start back here on the vent area because you're not going to see that as much. Let's see if our colors are good. So what I'm going to do is try to work this into the cracks a little bit here. Just blotting it on. Getting in there real nice, and then we're going to go back with our towel. I'm just going to give it a good little wipe along the edge there. It doesn't look too bad, not dark enough yet. Work this around a little bit more here. I'm going to be careful not to get this on any area of the helmet because when you wipe it, it does dull it slightly. This would also be a good time to do a wash of some kind on this, but I'm not real keen about getting this too wet because I don't want any major dulling of the silver. Just a little bit of water here to my rag. I'm trying to push it back towards the vent here. Weathering is a kind of tricky little process because usually less is more. You want to make sure that you don't get too crazy with the amount that you put on there. You can always add more later. So we're just going to do the same thing here on this side. Adding it into the cracks. Go back with our rag and just wipe off any little bit of excess. Not sure I'm happy with the color yet, but I'm going to keep working it. We may add a little darker color on top of it, but at this point we're just going to keep going, and we're going to work all the way around the helmet. As I said before, less is more. We're going to start small and add more as we go. Alright, I've got the weathering done. I did a very minimalistic approach to the weathering. I mean, I just did it around the edges and so forth, and I mainly just used a sponge. So, I might add a little bit more. The helmet's just too pretty to dirty up too much. I don't think I'm going to go back and do any airbrush work with any black or anything like that. I'm pretty happy with this so far. I may go back and just make some minor touch-ups, but again, as I said, do a little bit. Look at it, see what you think. The good thing about the acrylic paints is you can actually get, because you've got a gloss coat on this, you can get a damp cloth, you can literally wipe this right off. So if you want to start again, just don't bear down on it and take your finish off or dull it. But now we're going to move over to working on the visor part. Alright, the first thing we've decided on this is we're going to use what's called a binding post, which is a screw and a receiver that just has a post on it. As you can see here, these unscrew. We'll mount these inside the actual helmet itself, and then we'll drill a hole through the visor, and we'll come back and insert these over the top. We've also decided on this that we're going to use a flange on the top just so there's not metal pressing against the visor. I don't think it's going to matter, but we want to tighten these down fairly good to keep the rigidity of the helmet. So the first thing we're going to do with this method is we're going to come in and make a light pencil line around the visor so that we know where we can put our anchor points. I've marked where I want my parts to attach to the plastic, so now I'm going to mix up some epoxy of some kind and we're going to attach it. We've got our epoxy mixed up. We've got our pieces that we're attaching to the helmet ready to go here, and most importantly we've got these areas roughed up where we're getting ready to attach these points to. They are hollow in the back, so we do need to be careful not to get too much squeeze through on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into this area where we've deemed the first one should go, set some epoxy in there, come back with our part and attach it. Once I get that attached where I want it, I'm actually going to go back and do the next one on the visor here. There may be one up here at the top that I'm not going to do right now until these cure a little better, because I don't want runs in this. Alright, we're going to take our visor that we took out earlier, we're going to put it back in over the tops of these. We're going to line everything up to where we want it, and then we're going to come back with a silver marker in this case, and we're going to mark approximately where we want to drill out these holes. And I'll show you down here on this bottom one. We can see that there is a post right there and a post right there. I'm going to mark the rest of these, and then we're going to drill our holes out, and then we'll move to the next step of installation. Okay, I'm going to use my 1/2" drill in this case. It's a little bigger than what the actual shafts are on the other pieces. Take our time here, drill down into a piece of wood so that we don't shatter any of this. We're a little close on this edge, that's fine. It's still going to grip just nicely. This one just happened to be right here where the visor is, and I'm going to show you how to get that one in just a minute. All right. This last one up here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my files that I have, and I'm just going to come in and file this out. Alright, now we're just going to dry fit the visor. Make sure everything lines up correctly. It's going to be a little bit off. We're going to have to make some adjustments, and that's fine. Let's get a couple of these lined up. So now I'm going to go back that I have this in a rough idea. This one's off. It needs to be cleaned out a little better. I'm actually going to drill my holes slightly larger, at least on these top ones, maybe a little larger on this bottom one. So I'm going to go up from a 1/2". I'm going to go up 2 sizes on my drill index. Alright, now that I've test fitted everything, I noticed that this one has to come over a little bit further this way. So I'm just going to use a file, and I'm going to pull it over. Since you don't see this inside the helmet or outside of the helmet, it's not that critical. We'll just file this out a little bit until we get it to seat properly. We'll get it in there, and then we'll put our screw attachments in. Alright, we've got it seated in there very nicely now. So I'm going to remove the visor for the last time. I'm going to peel off the protective coating that's on it now. Flip it back over to the correct side. Just seat it back where it needs to go. And then we move on to our attachment pieces. What we've done is we've just picked up some rubber washer O-rings at the hardware store. That just keeps it from being directly on the metal on the plastic, which I don't think will hurt it, but it also gives it a little extra push down while it's in there. So we'll just continue to attach these pieces, and we'll be done with the visor installation. Alright guys, that concludes this build video, and we've got our visor installed now. Everything's buffed up. We've got everything as shiny as we can get it. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and go to Cause3D on Etsy and check us out on Facebook. We'll see you on the next video.